The following episode of the Carnival of Randomness is sponsored by an important message to you, the people, from Upsitnik & Associates. Every day there are forces that are taking from you, stealing from you. Your money, your time, your freedom. Immense faceless corporations, banks, credit card companies, insurance providers, government agencies, this list goes on and on. When you are under attack and facing crisis, turn to us, Upsitnik & Associates, attorneys for you, the people. When every day becomes a battle, we can advise and assist. We have been advocates for 40 years. Email us through upsitnikslaw.com or call us at 1-866-391-3299 or reach out to us through Upsitnik & Associates on Facebook for a prompt, no obligation communication and consultation. Don't be pushed around. Welcome to the Carnival of Randomness. You are about to enter a dimension of science and education. So science warning, God forbid you might learn something. I'm Zach, Rob's here.
Don't bug everybody with learning.
Yes. And we are very, very privileged today to be joined by Hillary Olson, the president, is it?
President and CEO.
President and CEO of the Rochester Museum Science Center. Hello, thank you for giving us time.
Thanks for having me here today.
I have, growing up here, unlike you.
Yes, unlike me, I did not.
I have such fond memories of the museum. And I could say, just from my youth, my dad would always take me there. We'd always be into science and everything else. And I always remember going in as a kid, the giant squid. There was a big, giant squid there, and that's the one thing that always sticks out in my head. But the thing is, like, I always use the term gateway drugs in a good sense.
Yep.
And going there, and that's when I went there. From there, I would just go to the library, pull out a mass of science books, which also my comic books inspired, because people don't realize comic books, when you read about things like that, they get you into reading. Mm-hmm. And just it piques the interest. And I think people these days, they just need that. Sometimes science isn't cool for some reason, which I think is very cool.
Right, because when you think about it at school, and you spend a lot of your time at school as a kid, science might be hard. You're doing some things that may be exciting, but it might feel difficult, and you're taking tests and things like that. And the goal of science museums is to get people interested, and like you said, it's the gateway drug. You get inspired and excited about something, and then you go and learn more on your own, and you're much more likely to get into something if you're self-driven than if you are being told exactly what you're studying and when.
That's what I found, especially in school. If I was forced to learn something, I would kind of innately go against it. But eventually I would read it.
I would have the thing from the museum. The first thing I did was, Mom, Dad, could Santa bring me a chemistry set?
We actually have chemistry sets in our gift shop. We have been the people who have driven a lot of that chemistry. Kids are into slime these days. We're driving a lot of that. Kids get really interested in something and they want to do more, and then then we mess up the
ones
kitchen.
I saw at the Smithsonian with little volcanoes. Mm-hmm. But I never blew anything up.
Liar.
But it's fun.
But I made some dyes I got all over the place. And the other thing I got into that was natural science, where I think every kid, and when I met you, you had Larry the big cockroach.
Yep, the Madagascar hissing cockroach.
Yes, it was great. It was great when I was in the Soviet Union and they were crawling around our hotel. Not so great.
Those are German cockroaches.
But when I was a kid, we used to go out, live by the canal. I would go out and we would collect our own insect connections. Yep. And I still remember the praying mantis that ate everything in the.
Yep, and you put them together with each other, and all of a sudden there's just one.
Well, we've learned a little bit about.
Yes. Yeah. Who's a carnivore?
But how did you get into all this and everything?
Oh gosh, I was. So I'm from Brockport. I've been gone for 30 years, but I'm originally from the area, and I was on a field trip to the Strassenberg Planetarium, and my mind got blown talking about a light year as a unit of measure and not time, and I couldn't understand it, and I just needed more and needed more and needed more, and that led me to a degree in astronomy, which led me to planetariums, which led me to museum work, and I've never looked back.
I just had to giggle a little bit because light years brings back a college memory where I took astronomy, and my advisor saying, "Watch out, this is really kind of tough." And we had a professor who I love, and we're in Delano, and this guy came out, old man with a bow tie. And we swear, we always are saying, he worked on the Manhattan Project. So we're doing this, and I remember doing astronomical units.
Yeah.
And somehow this big formula, and somehow I got it right, but I ended up getting a 22 out of 42 on the midterm. So I go up to him and say, well, this isn't my major. Should I stay on? He looks at it and he goes, I don't know why you want to drop this. You got one of the best grades in class.
Yeah. There's so much math and astronomy that I think some people get turned off. But once you practice it and figure it out, like you said, I mean, a 22 out of 45, at least that curve is
I had
important.
a friend, literally, they were trying to study engineering, and I think they got a 4. The average was 4 on the physics test. A 4. I mean, that's the thing. It's very concrete. You might take liberal arts, and I was a liberal arts major. I'm not going to put it down. But it's a little more nebulous. Sometimes you can put something in. Okay, with science, with math, you have to, okay, it's here, here, here. There is a right answer.
Mm-hmm. Or sometimes you have to figure out how to get to the right answer, which is the process over the
astronomical
product.
units was like, this, how did I get this?
Yeah, but I got it.
So, and you said before, it was a year ago this week or last week?
Yeah.
That you've been with, so how, was it an opening? Were you offered the position?
Yeah, it was really surprising. So for years and years, my father's been saying, when are you coming home? And I said, there's one job in Rochester, New York that I could possibly have, and it's taken. And it was taken by a woman named Kate Bennett for 22 years. But then she announced her retirement. I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at a museum and planetarium, and I applied on a whim, just thinking, well, wouldn't it be nice to go home? But I really didn't think I was going to get it, and then I did. So, and now I'm a year in, going, oh my gosh, I still am surprised. I'm still really grateful and thankful.
Well, and let's talk about it right now. You've been here a year, and last year was the year that the museum was undergoing that
renovation.
Pretty big, extensive renovation.
Yeah.
Coincidence?
No, but it was a good time because the Digistar program that we purchased and that we're using now in the Strassenberg Planetarium was something that I had worked with in Milwaukee, and I had been working with it for about a year and a half. So I was familiar with it. But the planetarium itself had undergone a significant renovation as part of our capital campaign to really change up the way the experience is. So now instead of fixed seating, we have flexible seating. There are recliners that you can move any one space or any one recliner and put in a beanbag chair for someone to lay in. You can move it around so that someone in a wheelchair can enjoy the space from wherever they want to be. And it's really become more accessible. And also people are having parties in there because
so would you say if you're at the planetarium, then you're in space?
Yeah, you're in a full dome projection system.
And I think, that's more of a natural thing because if people are looking up at the sky, most of the time they're going to be lying down. Yeah. You're not going to be sitting in a chair.
Yeah, you want to lie down and look up. And so we have giant beanbag chairs for whole families to sit in. We have smaller ones for individuals. We have the reclining seats. But you lean back and enjoy the show. And the show itself is a completely different projection system. So with some local technology in there, we use 2 projectors that have...
Not the big thing.
What that's Carl.
Like Voyager. I always called it Voyager 5 because it looked like...
I always thought it looked like an ant. That's Carl.
It looked like an uncle more than an ant.
We still have Carl, and we use him every once in a while. But the system that we use now is a lot brighter, and the stars show up a lot more. And you can zoom in on something using data visualization, and you can go to Saturn and look at the rings, and then zoom back out and look at the stars. And it's really amazing what you can do in that space. It's life altering.
Which is cool because space is pretty.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen those everybody's Googled pictures of like the Horsehead Nebula.
Yep.
And things like that, and it's just
That's
fascinating.
the thing people don't get. And one of the criticisms I've heard of science is it takes away things. I mean, there's religion here, science here. When you're taking science, you're saying this doesn't happen. Science is beautiful. Everything in the natural world is incredible.
To know that everything that happens around us has an explanation that you can be told
or figure out.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and there's a huge amount of beauty in it, and people do find religion in that. I mean, as we look at things that are far, far away in outer space, people have spiritual experiences.
Oh, it's very much. It's like we touched the face of God.
Yeah.
And one of the things, for anybody who hasn't seen it, I grew up here, obviously, or not obviously, and the planetarium has always been like a little home to me from when I was a kid. If you've never been here, it's just a great experience. Yeah. It just really is.
Well, I remember the old planetarium. I grew up in Pittsburgh. It was the Buell Planetarium way back when. I don't know what it's called now. I don't think it's
still the Buell.
Is it still the Buell? But, the Pittsburgh Science Center, there was always the submarine parked outside in the river. I think it was the USS Hornet, one of the Hornets or something.
The Green Hornet?
No, it's just an old sub that they had just sitting out there right next to the Science Center. You could take tours of it. I remember doing that when I was in school.
The other thing I would say about the Planetarium is the variety of programs. You like music? They have rock and roll with different laser shows.
I was going to say, holiday laser shows?
Holiday Laser starts this
Pink
started
Floyd's
this
kind
weekend.
of there's Holiday Laser, which is just great. It's
People still turn. So I worked at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, where people turned out in droves in the '90s for Pink Floyd laser shows.
I was going to say Laser Floyd.
Yeah, Laser Floyd, and they still turn out in Rochester for Laser Floyd. I mean, people still want that.
There's Led Zeppelin, the Beatles.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is
Genesis,
Laser Floyd kind of the most popular one? I think it's the most well-known one.
Yes, yeah, and people really. I mean, that's a great date night. And we have a bar in the Planetarium now, so some of our 21 and over. Yeah.
Planetarium, Laser Floyd, and a liquor license, kids.
Yes.
Oh, incredible. Plus, you have all the science shows and everything else. I saw the last one we saw before they renovated it was the show on Mars, which was really good.
Yeah. And we've done, since then, since we renovated, we did a show on Pluto. We've done a show on the Apollo landing. We've done, because this year was the 50th anniversary.
Yes, it was. It was huge.
It was enormous. We've done all kinds of different shows and spectaculars, just basically showing off what the new system can do. But like I said, mind blowing.
What is Pluto, though? I mean, they Disney. Is it a
I
dog?
get
It's
that
not
a
a dog, though. It's not a dog, though.
No, the
it's
dog
not,
was
Goofy
the
was the
dog.
Goofy the dog, right?
No, Pluto was the actual dog, not the anthropomorphic dog. He was the orange dog that
right.
belonged to
Because
Mickey.
there's another
He drove a
dog.
car, though.
Goofy did.
Goofy's the other dog.
No, Pluto was Mickey's pet,
Which
who
is
was also
bizarre.
named after the Roman version of the god of the underworld.
Which is what the planet was named after.
Yes.
Dwarf planet
And
now.
then Charon was named after the other because they always went Greek Roman.
Right, yeah.
Which I
Poor Charon, the orphan moon, because it is a planet. But what are your thoughts on Pluto? Because we were asking us this
yeah, because
question.
my
Right.
dad texted me on the way here. It
So,
said,
yeah, back in the 90s, Pluto was demoted to dwarf planet, and there are a lot of people that still have a lot of real strong feelings about that. There are several dwarf planets that are going around the sun, and if we were to promote Pluto back to being the 9th planet, we would have to promote a lot of other objects to planet status.
I
and we're
read
not
Neil
gonna do
deGrasse
that.
Tyson's book,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he said how many Planet X, how many
Yeah.
different.
Right, I was
there's
just
all
gonna-
these different planets out there. It's better just to keep it.
Right, demote Pluto, and then all the dwarf planets can be dwarf planets. And honestly, Pluto doesn't care.
yeah, exactly.
It
I don't
might.
think that.
It doesn't.
never
I don't think
know.
that non-sentient.
I know it's cold and icy
That-
there, but
It's a
it probably
rock.
is feelings.
Yeah, that
And
non-sentient-
poor Charon, as I said, I was a moon. I'm not a moon anymore. What am I? I'm just lost in
It's a
space. I'm a
satellite.
Ross.
Well, yeah, like I said, our moon is like 3 times the size of Pluto. Plus, yeah, we have Planet X, Planet Y, and isn't somewhere out there
Goes
that
way
giant diamond?
There's a planet that they are pretty sure is made
It's
entirely of diamonds.
It's
yeah.
like a diamond the size of Texas or something.
But it's not. None of those are considered planets anymore, and that, or ever were. And yeah, people have strong feelings about
But
it.
isn't
it's
that?
okay.
But for a science person as you are, isn't that great when people get so upset?
yes,
Over something scientific rather than, oh, well, she didn't give him the rose last night.
Right.
So-
And that is when people are talking about science in culture and in just regular everyday conversation, then that's a win for museums.
What did you, when you were a child, how did you, did something influence you in this? Like, maybe did you see something like on PBS or anywhere else that said, wow, this is really cool? Or was it a teacher?
I think I did later. I had an earth science class where the teacher was not amazing, but the content was, and I got past the teacher into the content. Most kids could not do that. So, when you have a spectacular teacher or an amazing, it was my thing. It was my drug. But that planetarium show in the 6th grade, I think, was what did it. I also remember that it was a woman that gave the show. And what I didn't realize was that she was a planetarium presenter, potentially an actor or a student. I really had thought that this woman was an astronomer, and I thought about, frankly, women in science were not something that I had seen very often. And I said, I can do this.
No, and that's really good. And you brought up a good point, women in science.
Yeah, the
And
whole
how would
STEM
you-
movement.
I'd love to encourage that.
Yeah. Yeah, and girls get involved in science just as much as boys do, but they tend to drop out somewhere around 6th or 7th grade. Because it's math heavy, and they hear that math is hard and you can't do it, and the boys are doing this or whatever. So we really need to change that because
It's the stigma in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, I think, and you have to make it interesting and show why this is really cool.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, even though his demotion of Pluto, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think, has done a really good job making science fun.
Yes.
Because he is not only, I think, now the smartest man on the face of the earth, he's one of the most entertaining men on the face of the earth.
He makes science accessible.
And he's one of the busiest guys on the planet.
Yeah, so Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, Mr. Wizard.
Oh, I remember Mr. Wizard when I was a kid.
One of the first ones for me when I was growing up was watching Cosmos with Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
Carl Sagan. Every one of those people made science accessible to the general public and interesting instead of, it's not a math textbook. It's a amazing way to figure out the world around you, and that's what museums try to do, is make it accessible, make it fun, make it interactive and exciting.
All right, speaking of museums, what's your favorite museum that you've ever been to as a patron?
The Rochester Museum Science Center.
Besides
just one that you've gone to.
Okay.
That was just.
I'm going to give you a weird answer.
Oh, we've probably got some weird ones too.
There is a museum of spam in Minnesota.
I've heard of the Spam Museum.
Yes, the Spam Museum. And it wasn't, the content was spam. I mean, it was actual canned meat. But the the visitor experience of that small museum, we were welcomed. We got on a factory line. My kids were doing things. I was doing things. I was learning about spam in World War II in Hawaii, and the kids were like making fake spam. I mean, it was an incredible experience for what it was. So
shout out to the Spam Museum.
No, and you'll never get there. But if you're ever anywhere near that, it's in southern Minnesota. Drive through.
What's amazing about upstate New York? We travel a lot through the highways and byways. You see all the little. There's a salt museum.
We've seen the Salt Museum. We go down to Corning. There's the Museum of Glass, but there's also the Rockwell Museum, which both you and I mistakenly thought was the artist, but it's not. It's not Norman Rockwell.
Roger Torrey Peterson, who's the bird person.
Down in Jamestown.
There are thousands and thousands of museums across this country, and some of them are tiny, tiny. They're only open on Tuesdays between 1 and 4. But there are more museums in the United States than there are McDonald's, and I don't think people know that.
One of the cool ones I went to in Las Vegas, the Atomic Testing Museum.
I have not been there.
That was cool. Like, it's like all the war propaganda, the scare things, the people of my parents' age, the duck and cover drill PSAs, that hiding under this wooden desk is going to save you from the atomic blast.
Somehow, from a nuclear, it'll be
Viz
great.
Queen and duct tape will keep radioactive fallout from entering your ductwork.
Remember when they landed on the moon, they had a period of time because of the radiation. They had to make sure they hit it, because I think they had 17 days, because when the moon rotated... Though, after all, it was filmed by Stanley Kubrick.
Exactly.
So
on a sound
he did
studio.
a good job.
Yeah,
he did a good job.
on a
They
sound
made sure
stage
they
in
went on the
Encino.
moon to do it because he was a big pro.
He went
What do you
for
do?
realism.
What do you do when you hear stuff? Because we deal with that too. I've had a friend who come up to me, and I just try to be nice, but they're just so scientifically ignorant, and he'll detest me. Well, that flag did not fly on there. And sometimes I try to, but you can't convince them.
Right. Science denialism is a real problem, and it's something else that museums try to combat every day. I mean, you have people that truly believe that vaccines are bad, even though we know that they work, they're effective, and they protect people. You have people that truly believe that the Earth is flat.
Is that not scary?
It's
But
terrifying.
they
in the
didn't
year
believe it back
2019.
then. That's the thing they don't understand is they knew if you look at documents from days, they knew it was. They would say here be monsters on the map. It was unexplored, but they knew, like at the time of Columbus, they knew you weren't going to fall off the world.
Oh no, we knew it was round.
Yeah.
We knew it was round since the ancient Greeks or spherical. And
Well, since the aliens came and built the pyramids, they had to find. They had to go around down there.
Since they came and built
Yeah.
Machu Picchu, since the Peruvians obviously weren't, technical enough to do what they did.
Yeah, it's amazing what people will believe, and that goes to what we were talking about earlier off air was fake news. If you don't have the capability to analyze the information that you're seeing or reading, you might make a bad decision, and you might maybe not vaccinate your kids, let's say, or not believe in climate change.
Well,
and not take
there
steps
is.
to
Talk
mitigate
about
it.
museums. I've never been there, but there's a Creationist Museum in Alabama.
Yep.
And they have a picture of a cowboy raiding a T-Rex.
What happened?
Yes.
These are the same people that look at the Flintstones as a documentary.
Right. It's terrifying, and we really are trying to make sure that people understand what what science tells us. And, when you have all of the scientists agreeing and figuring out this one thing, like climate change, like evolution,
but I don't feel that way. See, I don't think my feelings tell me it's different.
Yeah.
I just got caught in a blizzard. It's not warming.
And it's hard for science to talk about, you have feelings and beliefs, and we respect that. The museums respect that. Everyone has their own belief system, but we do know what's accurate and what's out there, and then we're trying to present that in a way that's accessible to the general public.
I think it goes back to Macaulay's book, Delusions and the Madness of Crowds, where it's just because it's just we have like a mass consciousness like that, and I just think I heard, and it's hard to deny when you believe something. It's hard sometimes to face like it's not true.
Right, and that's where you're making people sort of figure it out for themselves and discern for themselves. I mean, that's what we try to do with kids. A lot of civic responsibility is understanding how to digest the information that you're given and figure out what's right, and understand, like the process of science involves peer review, things like that. There's a lot of things out there that are just not accurate, but you can put out anything you want on the internet. One of my views on that, because one of the
best classes I ever took was basic logic, and they should do a little more for in schools, not teaching classes on subjects, but teaching how to think.
Yes,
and one of the professors, what do you, like, if your view is this, take the opposing view and do it and everything.
Right, and let's have a real argument, and let's use some data. So data-driven decisions.
I'll prove the moon was made of cheese.
Well, right.
Well, it's like the white raven thing, though. I could say, for a white raven, all you have to do is prove there's a white raven by saying, well, if you see a white raven, there's a white raven. But there's the old theory, okay, we're all brains held in dishes by a mad scientist. Now, you can't disprove
the Matrix, right.
You just can't disprove it, but why would you be on the show? Then you had better stuff to do.
And I think one thing is people keep denying it because they don't want to look stupid. But they have to realize science isn't trying to make people feel dumb.
No, not at all. We're trying to make people smarter.
They just want to make sure that, hey, this is how it works.
Right. Science is a process. It's figuring it out. It's asking questions and finding answers based on the data that you find. And data is not, I believe something.
Well, Richard Dawkins used that in Bending the Rainbow. He said, look at a rainbow. Look how beautiful it is, like nature thing. But one thing I wanted to get into, because when I first met you again, your buddy Larry.
Yeah,
and insects. And I think they're really cool.
Bugs.
I think because I read all that E.O. Wilson and about his ants. And how did you, what insects?
Oh, my gosh. So the museum itself has a great collection. We have an amazing natural history collection, and some of that is insects and other arthropods, but I got into insects when I was working at the Los Angeles County Natural History Museum, and I ran the Discovery Center and Insect Zoo, and people from all over would come in and see the bugs and the spiders and everything else, and our job was to take them from ew to ooh, which is hard. Some people have real feelings about a spider in their shower without understanding that maybe that spider's eating the other bugs.
Believe it or not, years ago, my mom she used to iron down cellar. So when I was a kid, I'd go down and see there's a spider down there and my mom said I was going to kill it, but then it just started. She saw it forming its web. And it just was really neat out there. And then it would bump off all the flies and stuff. So.
Right. If that spider is there, then that means it's got food. So you want it to be eating all the other bugs in the area. It's not going to bite you.
And some people I know are freaked out by dragonflies.
Yeah.
But they keep the mosquitoes down.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, most of the insects in the area. I could argue against mosquitoes, but most of the insects are beneficial. They belong in the environment. They're natural.
But
naturally
you think about it, the mosquitoes have a purpose.
They do.
As food for other insects.
Absolutely, and the bats love them. Yeah, and they're. But yeah, the mosquitoes I personally don't like. They do have a place in the environment, but that's the thing. We can all personally not like something,
right?
But they belong here.
What are some of the more odder ones you've dealt with, like at the museum or here, that are really just so interesting?
I love the stick bugs. And the way that they are, they've evolved to some of them look like leaves, some of them look like sticks. And I love spiders. I love working with tarantulas and other arachnids. I mean, tarantulas you can hold.
I actually like tarantulas, and people don't think that they think they're all these. They're not even. I mean, it'll hurt if they bite you, but it's not.
No, it's not going to kill you.
No, and it's not. I think they're pretty, actually.
They are, yeah, and they're non-native. I mean, so that's not something you're going to see in Rochester, but. They're fun to
I would
hang
avoid the movie the Giant Spider Invasion.
But weirdly, stick insects, I didn't know they were kind of native to this area.
Some of them are, yeah.
Because I saw one on the back door of my house. I looked like, oh my God, it's a stick insect.
And the male praying mantises as well look more like a stick insect than anything else. I mean, the females are huge and green and fat, and the males are tiny. They're not tiny, but they're a third of the size of the females.
I think, isn't that kind of common in a lot of species that the female is much bigger than the male?
Absolutely.
And much different looking?
Yep. Yeah, and there's, and there are birds that have the same thing. Actually, a lot of times the males are brighter and the females are
like that dancing bird. Everybody's seen that clip, the bird with the blue tail.
Oh, yeah, fluffing itself out.
Yeah, that's dancing around, and the female just kind of looks at him and turns away.
That's a beautiful.
It's hilarious.
That's a beautiful evolutionary tale of like the males getting brightly colored and to attract a mate, and the females being sort of more dull colored in order to stay hidden when they're on a nest.
Right, and the best example that everybody in the area can look at is just the duck. Mm-hmm. The mallard with the big bright green head, and the female's brown.
Who blends in with the environment.
I get my
unofficial
pets because I feed the birds in the backyard, and I like to see different ones and everything. It's sort of opposite with cardinals, though, because the males are more dull, I think.
The cardinals and blue jays, but they're super. But actually, I think it's the males that are the bright red and the females that are
I'm
the
actually
more
confused
dull.
on that one. I can't remember which one it is.
And that's the thing. It's like, for the layperson, unless it's something so drastic like a duck, you look at a bird, you can't tell if it's a male or
Although
female.
What's interesting is that there's a huge element of science that you have people with their individual passions coming in to talk about it. We have this amazing natural history collection. We have a lot of birds. And there are birders out there that will tell you they're not scientists, but they know everything about the birds in their backyard.
Well, that's what it is, because you don't have to have a degree in science to be an expert in something.
I know, like killdeers, when I would walk my dog, they would peek their eggs, but they would pretend they were lame to go away. They're also one of the only birds that ever buzz-bombed us.
Yep.
But they start walking, and they look like they've got a broken wing. And they go, and I'm saying, put your eggs someplace not by us. I don't mean you any harm. Leave me alone. Stop trying to attack my dog and me.
The dog might mean them harm.
My dog we got chased by a turkey one time. So.
Well, they're mean. My mom got attacked by a turkey.
Turkeys and geese.
Oh, we got chased by in Pittsburgh by the canal. We got chased by a goose.
They're horrible. They're delicious, but they're horrifying.
But the other one was like the idea of the ant farm, because I used to have one. Mm-hmm. They even bury their dead. It seems like it's really neat.
And then that's probably something having to do with the decomposition of that ant is going to actually help the soil and grow things that the ant needs. I mean, those are the kinds of things that over thousands and thousands, in some cases millions of years, these animals have adapted to figure a lot out, even though their brains are a little size.
There's a lot more than us on this planet, and a lot.
And I was watching an old episode of Dirty Jobs, and Mike Rowe was at a bug museum, and the guy was explaining. It's like the ants that work in basically their garbage dump are the old ants that know they're going to die soon, so they just go there. So when they die, they don't have to get dragged.
Perfect.
To the compost heap.
Right.
It is an incredibly sophisticated society that we kind of look down on.
Yeah, and they know, like ants and bees and any animal that lives in a colony knows a lot about, collectively that brain is huge.
Yeah,
one-on-one, it's not. Right.
Well, what I would say, have you ever seen, this is one of our favorites, have you seen the documentaries of Sir David Attenborough?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what's amazing to me now is just how incredible it's just, I mean, I grew up with Mutual of Omaha as well.
Exactly. Oh,
he won't hurt you. Like, you imagine. But, I mean, this photography is just
and they're still doing stuff. I think he's working on a new series right now.
That's awesome. Awesome. Those are the kinds of things that get people interested.
Yeah, and everybody really in the world does know or should know who Sir David Attenborough is.
Oh, just listening to him speak is mesmerizing.
He's one of those where he could read me the phone book and I'd be happy.
Right.
Because I have somebody who knows science, and I'll ask this one question. It's like, I was thinking of SETI. Is anyone out there or not? What would you what's your opinion?
I would say absolutely. There's intelligent life.
I mean, there's the Goldilocks variant. I know Isaac Asimov did it where he said, you have to have the Goldilocks thing where it's just right.
For life as we know it. But yeah, there's almost no way there's not intelligent life in the universe. Does it look like us at all? Probably not.
Right.
We have to find intelligent life on Earth first, I think, sometimes.
Well, that's what I mean, like, people forget that intelligent life doesn't necessarily mean we can understand it.
Right.
Dogs are intelligent. We can't understand them.
Right. Whales,
yes, I
all
can.
of it.
Cut that out. I
Well,
can understand my dog fine.
But, is it carbon-based life even? Probably not. I mean,
Silicon,
it could
they say
look,
silicon probably.
yeah,
That's,
very different.
because
and
I
so,
said Arthur C. Clarke said it is one thing that is probably silicon-based
Mm-hmm.
more likely. They even like living crystals, something like that. And there's an idea that maybe even Neptune, under the waters, there's some kind of microbes.
I don't know.
We might be Martians anyways, because we might have, you know that.
Right,
we
yeah.
come over
Yeah, they found
from
water
Mars.
and bacteria on
Explain
Mars.
a lot about me and
So
you.
there you
huh?
go. Bacteria is life.
Yep.
So we have proven Martian life.
I have
does
somebody who can
exist.
talk about it intelligently, how to use this. Because I'll get other people, oh, well, they visited us, they visited me in the
Yeah,
backyard.
that's-
That probably hasn't happened.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt played golf with the Greys when he was supposed to be getting a dentist. So that's
Jimmy
actually
Carter
a thing.
did say he saw a UFO.
Yeah, well, I think Jimmy Carter was hitting the fermented peanut juice a little too hard.
He got attacked by a bunny, too, so he had a rough
no offense
presidency,
to Mr. President, but I doubt it happened.
Well, UFO, unidentified flying
we've seen
object, that's
UFOs.
all it means.
Everybody's
Right,
seen
a UFO is definitely
It's
a possibility. Is it
some-
from intelligent life from another planet and another
Plus, they're
solar
flying,
system?
it's
Probably
flying
not.
like a thing. It's probably pretty intelligent.
Yeah, it's like,
if they're
what is
intelligent,
that?
they'll stay away
It's
from
flying,
you.
but I don't know what it is. That's a
And I
UFO.
go back-
Unidentified, right.
And I go back to Arthur C. Clarke, where he said, why don't they land on the White House lawn?
Because they don't want to.
Yeah, I don't think they're visiting us.
Well,
I really
all right. Well, what is your thoughts on like alien movies then?
I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's entertainment.
All right.
It's speculation. It's fun.
But here, the movie Signs. I've always had a problem with this. The aliens, I don't care. Spoiler alert. Are allergic to water.
Oh, that's the water one. Yes, I have seen that.
If they have the intelligence and capability to build interstellar space travel crafts,
This is the last planet
they
you
should
would
know
visit.
that they have an allergy to water.
Right.
So why would you come to a planet that's 75 to 80%
Right.
water and where water literally falls from the sky?
Right, that makes no sense.
See, that's where that's a very, very good point, though, because Chris Carter would go around he would be involved with SciCop, which is actually in Amherst. It's the Skeptical Society. And he would give a thing where, yes, it's X-Files, but it's supposed to be entertainment. Right. And I love that stuff. I used to read Weekly World News. I grew up on Star Trek. And I know it's not real. Mm-hmm. Despite what I say about Game of Thrones sometime with Daenerys, I know it's not real.
But at the same time, even if you're watching something that's so ridiculous, it makes you think. It's like, well, what if there are aliens
What's
out there?
out there? Right. And we
I doubt it's
going
to
to
look like that, but
you never know. I mean, you don't know what it looks like, which allows the creative types to make anything they want out of it, which makes for really good entertainment.
And people will get into like the stereotype of like the science fiction fan or something, but when you read, how many of these science fiction authors have backgrounds? Robert Heinlein was an engineer in the Navy. Isaac Asimov taught biochemistry at Boston. And a lot of them, like actually Alan Steele, who's one of the best authors out there in terms of, he tries to do realistic space travel, where he shows how you have to go generational, but he really tries to do the science. Mm-hmm. And you might learn something.
God forbid.
I think we're all going to learn something. I mean, and all of those things, again, teach you how to think. When especially when you think about time travel or something like that with aliens, how do I think about that? Yeah. And that is a great thing.
And actually, you went on by doing that by actually the next thing. Go on, you go.
Yeah, but speaking of intelligence, this has been a little bit of
speaking on intelligence, sorry.
Debate between my father and I. He is convinced that artificial intelligence is somehow going to take over the world. And I know that coming up in April, there's somebody giving a lecture on artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so we have an exhibit now at the museum called SciFi Tech, and it's about how the science fiction of yesterday has sort of turned into some of the technology of today. So if you think about a Star Trek, like you were saying, like a communicator, we're using that every day. We have them in our pockets.
Yeah,
we can talk to people.
Skynet actually went online in 2017.
No, 1997.
1997.
But seriously, what are your thoughts personally on AI? Is it going to wipe out humanity?
You know what? There are a lot of people talking about that, and it depends on how it's built and how it's programmed. And I think that if you think about iRobot, there was a lot of thinking about how do you program something so that it doesn't take over the world. So there's great science fiction about that, but I honestly don't know. There are smarter minds than I talking about it.
It started out Carol Kapnick's
serious.
book Rur, robot. It was a Slav word for slave, actually, what it came from. That's what it's supposed to be. But there's to me, I also look at there's a disconnect from reality sometime. I'm going through the mall, and they've got the things where you can just go into the holograms and everything. It's almost like we're going to have a holodeck like from Star Trek.
But you think about artificial...
VR is very similar.
Artificial intelligence. How often does your phone just not work?
Right.
That's what we have to be afraid of?
Right.
Or the people that built that little robot that looks like wearing a spacesuit. It falls down going upstairs. Yeah, that I'm terrified.
Right.
I don't buy
20, 30, 40 years, what does that look like?
Could be, but again, you also have to factor in who's programming these robots. What is their level of intelligence?
And what's their motivation?
Yeah. Right. So I don't see any time in our lifetime the machines rising up and slaying us and Arnold Schwarzenegger having to come back through a portal.
I also don't see the machines caring. I mean, that's, there are people working on that, like how do you sort of mirror emotions, or how does a machine learn emotions, but they don't have them.
Yeah, they don't.
And they're not going to.
They may be able to.
It's not bad. It's
they
like
may
the
be
Tin
able.
Man, you don't want a heart.
They may be able to display them, but they don't understand what they're doing. They just know it's like a parrot mimicking your speech. It's doing something, but it doesn't know what it's doing.
You're doing the thing that you were programmed to do.
And
whatever
actually,
that is.
like that's the thing I really want to talk about too. I will be coming to the museum this week.
Yes.
What do we have to look forward to there right now?
Let's plug time.
You're a visitor from, and I always say if somebody comes in from out of time, that's one of the first places I direct them to.
Oh yeah. So we have a lot going on. So we have that SciFi Tech exhibit open through spring break, but it is really amazing. There's an R2-D2 in there. There's a Terminator robot in there. There's a DeLorean from Back to the Future that's sitting in that gallery. It's so cool. And we couldn't get it in using our loading dock elevators, so we actually had to fly it in to the third floor through the windows. So we flew the DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future into the museum.
Why was this not on the news?
It was on the news.
Why did I? Oh, because I don't pay attention
we had
to the news.
We had a couple of stations that came out and covered that.
Dude, I would. A flying DeLorean.
It is amazing. And it's really all about technology now and technology then, and also moving towards the future. Like, what are we looking forward to? There's a lot of hands-on things. There's a Mars rover interactive. There's video games. There's old and new. It's incredible.
The nostalgia gaming room?
Yes. It's incredible.
What is that? Like...
So we have a Donkey Kong in there. We have
so it's just basically old vintage games.
There's only one, like super, that Donkey Kong is a vintage game, but it's more about some of the screens that we have going on are showing the vintage games and then like the games that are now.
Yeah.
So we have that exhibit. We have the holidays really kicking into high gear, and the holiday laser show started this past weekend, and it'll be going forward through the holidays. And we have a lot of programs for, like the Planetarium has programs for field trips and kids in the morning, and then the afternoon and the evenings we have programs for families and then adults. We have 21 and over programs, like I was saying, with a bar. Some Saturdays you can come to the top of the...
Is it a space bar?
It's not. I mean, it's a very retro 1960s sort of bar. It's amazing. But sometimes we have special drink specials, like a shooting star or something like that.
A Cosmopolitan?
Yes, the Cosmopolitan. We've done that.
I was going to say, if that's not a thing, feel free to use it because you should be.
Yes,
and actually, you made me think back when I was a kid, the big thing from Santa was we had to get Pong, Atari. And I'm thinking of these games then. Who would think then how... compared to what they look like now. Isn't it amazing? We'd be just doing these, playing with the little dot or breakout or whatever.
There is a Pong in that exhibit.
Of course, there has to be.
It's so fun. It's so fun. So, but then, we are also the region's largest Native American history museum, and we have a huge amount of Native American history artifacts.
See, I did not know that.
We're the largest natural history museum. We have a mastodon. We have lots and lots of natural history items, like the bugs and the birds I was talking about, but skeletons. There's a dinosaur. In a couple of years, we have a big dinosaur exhibit coming up. So there's a lot going on.
Okay, silly question, because we talked about a couple. If we could clone one of the old dinosaurs or something or mess, which one would you do, or which one would you be?
I wouldn't do it. But
Thank you.
Everybody wants a pet T-Rex, right?
No.
Keep a lot of people out of my yard. And give
right.
They can't even handle a dog.
There was one meme I have to tell. He put one up on our podcast page. unstoppable. It had a
the
T-Rex with
with
little
the grabber arms.
Right, the grabbers.
Eventually, they'll figure out how to use the grabber claws.
So there is, in that SciFi Tech exhibit, there is talk about, Jurassic Park. We have a Jurassic Park dinosaur in there. There's talk about that technology, which is not really real, using amber, and that DNA has really broken down. But we are working, and we had a lecture on it a couple weeks ago, we are working on bringing back things like the passenger pigeon, which went extinct not too long ago at all. And in museums, just like ours, there are passenger pigeons that have been taxidermied. We have their skin and beaks and bones. We can take the DNA from something that's not been long dead and actually see if we can bring that back.
I do go there a lot, but I sometimes give spaces because I have to deal with various things. But when I was in the London Museum of Natural History, they had this mechanical T-Rex. And literally my friend said, okay, be ready. You go around, and we still, I don't think we know what color dinosaurs were, but they have like a mechanical, it's very realistic and neat.
Yeah, sometimes the moving dinosaurs freak people out, and sometimes people love them. And museums fight with we don't know what they looked like, so how do we flesh this out? But speculation is interesting too. And again, you toss that to the creative types and say, we know that this is a male and this is a female, and since dinosaurs or birds evolved from dinosaurs, we can speculate that the male dinosaurs were brightly colored.
And I was going to say, isn't there theories now that a lot of dinosaurs actually had feathers?
Yeah,
and actually
absolutely.
the turkey was, speaking of Thanksgiving coming up, the turkey is related to the raptor, I think.
Well, they're all raptors, birds of prey.
Birds.
So we're having revenge on them now in a couple of weeks.
Yes, no, definitely. Anytime you eat a bird, you're eating a dinosaur. I mean, the birds evolved from the dinosaurs.
Just look at an ostrich. Ostriches are freaking dinosaurs.
That's a raptor.
And that's one thing I like in terms of natural science. What I really like, I like two things. Sometimes you find things that supposedly are extinct, but you find they're not. You find there's more, though. There's actually even that one program, they look around for different things and they find them. And the other thing is every year we find something new.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think is just awesome.
Which, I mean, and a lot of times that's either when you find something new, when scientists are going out into the field to collect things, it's either something microscopic or it's something in the deep, deep ocean, like the coelacanth, like you said.
Yeah, because we thought they were extinct for millions.
French, because don't believe. I hope people aren't saying, "Well, there's megalodons down there." Come on, but the Mariana, it's so deep in the oceans. I think it's lower than. It's just incredible that you don't know what people
have
down
no
there.
idea
And we
what's
never
down
will.
there.
I don't think we ever will in our lifetime have the capability because one. There's no light. There's no pressure. We don't have a vessel that can do
that's
that.
why it's cool, because there's the fish that are luminescent, because that's evolution.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If you ever need, thinking about anglerfish.
Yeah.
And do you know about anglerfish sex?
Yeah.
Can I tell you about anglerfish sex?
That's awesome. I love it.
I do know this one, and I feel sorry for the poor males. Let's put it that
the males
way.
are like a quarter inch in size. I mean, it depends on the species. The females are quite big, the size of a softball, and when they find each other using their bioluminescence, the males actually bite onto the females. And their whole bodies atrophy to the point where
they turn into a pair of testicles.
Yeah,
basically.
they're just a pair of testes that is fertilizing the eggs when she drops them. And any female has got 5 or 6 or even 12 males stuck to her. And we didn't figure that out for a long time. We found the males and we found the females with these what we thought were parasites on them, and then we realized that was the male of the same species. So, yeah, anglerfish sex is fascinating.
See, now, this is not what you hear with, Lidfack and Greg and everybody on here.
Yeah, if this conversation hasn't inspired you to go to the museum, there's something wrong.
I will be there. If I'm around, I'll say hi to you this week.
Yes,
if I run into you.
But real quick, Holiday Bazaar, what is that?
The Holiday
Bazaar.
Bazaar, oh my gosh,
this week,
that is the very best place. That's next weekend, or this weekend. And
the 22nd through the 24th, right?
Thank you.
Because I looked at it, I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure to get
and
this
that
in
is
time.
Artisans from all over the region coming to sell their wares, and it is phenomenal. It is the place to go for holiday shopping, and the museum closes down. Sorry for anybody that wants to see the museum. I mean, even though you're actually in it, but you come in and you're exploring so many people and so many beautiful things. I bought a lamp there last year that was made out of a drum for my stepson, who is a drummer, and it is phenomenal. I mean, and just anything that you could think of that you want to buy, it is that unique place for gifts, and that is happening this weekend.
So there you go.
That's awesome.
I'll put it up on
Yeah,
the...
Holiday Bazaar, RMSC.
And that's next weekend, right?
Yeah.
Well, this
Friday,
coming
Saturday,
week.
Sunday.
Yeah, this coming weekend.
Well, this is on Monday. Believe me,
Yeah.
I was shocked. Oh my goodness, Thanksgiving and the holidays
Yeah.
are coming.
And it's, more information, go to the website.
RMSC.org.
RMSC.org.
And you have to have a page, obviously, and
Yeah,
everything.
there's so much going on.
I think we are knocking...
We
at
have
the
our
door.
next. So, would you like to come back?
Yeah, if you
Would
ever
you
want
like
to
to
come
go
back
back?
or...
Please, yes. There's so much going on. Again, rmsc.org because there's no way for me to tell you
Yes.
every single
Right.
thing that's happening, but the website
Thanks
has
a
it
lot.
all.
This has
Yeah,
been
thank
really-
you.
Thank you for having
was
me. This is
hours and
amazing.
Enlightening.
And I'm going to actually, my good friend Sean McVeigh, they're on tour right now. King Buffalo's on tour, and they tour in November. He wanted to come down, but because they were on tour, they can't. And I thought this would be perfect. I'm going to play a cut called from their new album, Longing to Be the Mountain. It's called Cosmonaut, and I thought they would play
perfect.
perfect with this. And it's a cool song, so you'll like it.
That's awesome.
Thanks a lot, Hillary.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.